freaking first cut. Golly. Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your mega preview pod for this week's John Deere Classic. And joining me to break it all down, the coach is here. Coach, good to have you.
Well, I almost refused to do the show today because if I would have gotten one more text from that man right there, I was going to quit First Cut. But thankfully, he didn't send that one more text. So I'm going to donate all my earnings this week to the bottle of wine that I have to buy for the man because he beat me last week again. But it's great to be here.
That man he's referring to is Mark Immelman. Mark, good to have you. Happy Tuesday.
It's good to be with you. Hey, Coach, I wore the T-shirt for you because you're one of my favorite announcers doing the live coverage this week, so I'm representing.
Oh, it looks great. It looks great.
I'm happy to see you. I was concerned you went missing because I sent all these texts and there was no response. I'm like, he is just ducked out on this bed, but it's good to see you, bro.
It's great to see you too.
You're able to track him down. I will say I got the better of Coach last week as well, but Coach, here it is. You are a man of your word. You pay quickly and you do pay. So kudos to you. I'm sure I'll have an opportunity to lose that back to you at some point here. Gentlemen, how about this? We are finalists in the sports category for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. Wow. Pretty strong. I know. We just got the news. And what we're asking for is the viewing audience, the listening audience to help us advance to the final round. So to do that, you can nominate us by going to podcastawards.com/app/sign up. Of course, we'll include the link in the description.
Of course.
You don't have to type all of that in. It's in the description. Then you go to the sports category and we appreciate it. That would be great.
I do have a quick question. Were you guys ever nominated before I came on the show?
Producer Jacob? I don't think so.
Well, then I've only got one thing to say.
Negative.
You're welcome.
Clear correlation.
Go for
it. Awesome stuff. People's Choice Podcast Awards. The link will be in the description. Thank you in advance. And gentlemen, we've got a John Deere Classic this week.
Yep.
We've got a wide open field. And Coach, you and I were just kind of chatting about this. The opportunity this week. I think that's the word. Opportunity. Right? That's the word of the week.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I mean, when you look at this week and when you have a Brian Harmon, a Daniel Berger, a Sanjay, and those are your three betting favorites are right at the top of the bet. You know it's a wide open opportunity for somebody. And when you think of some of the guys who have won here over the years, you better have your passport in your back pocket because you got to get on a plane and go straight to the Open if you win. Remember, George Spieth had an issue. He won here. Bryson won here. Dylan Fratelli won here. So this can be a launching pad for somebody on the PGA Tour, minus all the big names that most of which are already overplaying the Scottish Open.
Yeah, it is interesting because, Mark, this is, we kind of joke when we get to the Wyndham Championship. Oh, every shot matters throughout the year, right? They needed all of these to get into the FedEx Cup playoffs. But this is really the time of year where we should be looking at this, especially for the guys who are on the outside looking in, who don't have a ton of status. We'll talk about that. Seamus Power, I think, is the perfect example. He's 140th right now in the FedEx Cup standings. Outside of this event, we have a major, we have a WGC. He's not going to be able to play those. We're talking maybe the 3M Open. There are very few chances left, so you better get on your horse and you better run.
Oh, Rick, that's a very good point. The thing about it is when we embarked on this super season, as everyone called it, late in the fall last year, and we had 6 major championships and all these WGCs and stuff, and we were like, man, it seems like the end is never going to come. Now, all of a sudden, the chatter in the television compound, certainly I can speak to that. And from what I've talked to on the players on the range and the course and stuff, all of a sudden, there's this sense of urgency. For us in the broadcast booth, we're like, we're nearly some time off now. But for the players, they're like, okay, it's time to make some hay. And you make such a good point about the folks who don't have the high world rankings, the folks who aren't guaranteed to play like WGC and the Open and such. I talk to certain guys and they're like, well, I'm doing the Open, I'm doing Memphis, and I'm doing the playoffs. Whether the rest of them, they've got to make hay at this place at 3M, Wyndham. And then, of course, you'll have some guys that'll show up at Wyndham because there's that Comcast business bonus as well. So, yeah, there's a lot to play for right now. And this event, to me, I'm jacked to be back because it's one of the events where the crowd turnout is just so huge. And they get behind their people, and the Quad Cities over there, they throw a huge party every day when there's golf. It's a fun golf course. And I think John Deere are a tremendous sponsor. And so I know the field is lighter than it normally is because of scheduling, I think is the big deal, because there's been so much big golf for the blue chip folks. But still, I think it's going to be fascinating. Like last week in Detroit, there was a good field. But in the end, you have two golfers you weren't expecting in the playoff.
Yep.
Three, Neiman should have been, right? But then it's whittled down to two. And those two guys put on a tremendous show. And they had everyone riveted. They didn't have to be Spieth v. McIlroy or one of those sorts of things. So I get the sense with this golf course, with these crowds, with everything to play for, we're going to see more of that stuff this weekend.
Not only do we have the crowds, Coach, but we have an event. This we didn't play this last year, and I believe by my count, the only two events that we didn't play in 2020 that we haven't gotten back to are the Open Championship and this one. I'm pretty sure that's right. So we are kind of closing the loop on some of these events that we missed out on for a year, and you're throwing in the crowds right back into it, right? Because a lot of these events had minimal attendance. We're throwing the crowd right back into it, and we know how passionate they are.
Yeah, we talked a lot last year. We gave so much credit to Workday for stepping in when this event couldn't be played because of COVID in Illinois. And so to Mark's point, I think these fans who look at, and I grew up in Kansas, you know, my whole family's, I spent every Christmas on my grandfather's huge farm. John Deere is a big part of our life. And so in the Midwest, for them to be the sponsor for all these years, but also for these incredible Midwestern fans who look forward to events like this every single year. This is their July 4th, so to speak. And that's why they throw a party every year. That's why they get so into it. So to not have it last year, you got to believe that everybody is going to be pumped, jacked, ready to go. And also because this is such an important event to this part of the country, I think it's going to be a really special week. And it always seems to reward somebody that needs to be rewarded. And that I'm really looking forward to.
It's not only important to that region, but also important, Mark, to our 3-time champion, Steve Stricker, who gets it done 3 years in a row, 2009, 2010, 2011. I was trying to think of a non-Tiger that had won an event 3 times in a row. I couldn't think of one, or at least in the modern game. I'm sure Byron Nelson probably did it, or I couldn't come up with one. But Mark, he's skipping the Senior Open Championship. He's dominated on the Champions Tour. He's dominated. He's coming back here to give it a go at number 4.
Well, that tells me two things. First off, I'm a believer. I believe Stricker could contend this weekend. In fact, in my sleepers this week, I've picked Steve Stricker because not just the way he's playing, but just the way he plays here and the way this golf course sets up. It's not overly long. You know, the greens typically are receptive because this time of the year, you get those summer thunderstorms and stuff. And so the place gets soft and you can kind of play darts. And there's a number of wedges in your hand. And Steve Stricker still is as good with a wedge as anybody in the game, in my opinion. Between he and Zach Johnson around this place, I would take the two of them in a best ball against anybody. I mean, you bring Bryson and whoever, and I would take those two on them because the golf course works, their style of play works, their skill set works around here. And of course, the fans love that sort of underdog story some. And Zach Johnson's from in Iowa, which is just up the road. So he's a homeboy. Strix is a Midwesterner. But they love them over there. And so they're going to get the adulation that a Spieth or McIlroy gets at any other tour stop or a Tiger, for argument's sakes. And they ride that stuff. And so, for Stricker, 3 times around here, I was on hand for one of those where he hit a magnificent fairway bunker shot from the left-hand side onto the 18th green, which that green is narrow, man. It is tight.
Yeah.
And he had a very bad line. He clipped the thing onto the back edge of the green and then made this downhill from the fringe to win. And the place erupted. I mean, because where the 18th hole is kind of in a valley, if you will, and the whole right-hand side is this huge big hill up to the clubhouse. And the folks pack it in there. It's almost like the one side of a football stadium. And I'll never forget that experience for as long as I live. And that sort of support he gets around this golf course, man, I sign me up. I have a feeling Stricker will play well, and he must know so if he's pulling out of the senior British.
Stricker also nipped Paul Goydos in 2010. Goydos shot a 59 in the opening round and had a one-shot lead because Stricker shot a 60, which is just dirty. But I mean, Coach, I think I might be a believer too. I was looking for a reason to dismiss the old guy who plays on the Champions Tour and he's coming back to try to relive glory. Well, made the cut at the PGA Championship, finished 13th at the Honda Classic. He had a top 5 in Phoenix earlier this year. It feels like he might be able to contend.
Yeah, as I was doing my research today also, the more you look at it, the more, to me, take his age out of it. The way he's playing, and to your point, what he's done this year, to me, he has to be a favorite this particular week. And the fact, I don't care whether you're winning on the senior tour or the regular tour, winning is winning. And feeling that and being in the moment and being in the mix, you just can't substitute for that. So I believe, especially the numbers on him this week, there's tremendous value, whether you want to play a top 10, a top 20, or maybe even sprinkle a little bit on him to win, because Vegas doesn't think he's going to do anything this week. And this is the type of week you can get some incredible value on guys that you normally wouldn't play.
Yeah, looking at some of the other names in this field, Mark, there's one in particular I want to get your thoughts on. It's Russell Henley, who for his last 2 starts, Thursday through Saturday, has been phenomenal. He has put himself in contention. Now he has given a few of those back on Sundays in the last couple of weeks. And you wonder if that's just variance or looking up at the leaderboard, getting a little bit nervous, but his game is in great shape. He just needs to put that 4th round together.
Yeah, well, look, the US Open, you can forgive the misstep. Final group, he led the thing for 54 holes. Final group there, and I asked him the following week in Connecticut, so what went down, and he goes, I actually played pretty well, just got on the wrong sides of some holes and made a bogey or 2, and all of a sudden that stuff adds up. So he was disappointed, but he showed up in Connecticut kind of recharged. So I was chatting with him, I'm like, how are you feeling? And he goes, just tired, but I'm good. And so what I loved was Saturday, I think it was, I had his group for the Saturday afternoon broadcast, because he was in the mix there. And so he's hitting balls. And when I've worked with him, he's hit the ball from right to left gently. Now he's been working with Jim McLean for the last little while. And so he's hitting these little bleeding cuts out there. And I look at him and I go, Russ, are you trying to fade these? He goes, nah. He goes, they should be drawing. And I'm like thinking, I didn't ask him. I'm like, surely you're concerned you're about to go tee off in about 20 minutes. And he goes, it's okay with me. He goes, I'll just go hit whatever's coming out the barrel. And when a player brings me that like acceptance and that attitude of like, whatever's happening, I'm going to go and make a number, then I'm a believer. And that guy, let me tell you, on the golf course that afternoon, his iron game was sensational. He putts so aggressively. He never left a putt short, and a putt wasn't ever missed low either. So everything had a chance. If he was a basketball player, every ball was hitting the back iron. It wasn't hitting the front side. And playing like that, it's like he doesn't give a stuff. And just to put a bow on that conversation, at the US Open, when someone said to him, hey, what is your case for winning? He was like, doesn't mean as much to me.
Yeah.
Which is about the thing, because then, so I catch him Sunday. I'm like, what's the plans next week? He goes, I'm going to be at home. Now, home for him is like 4 miles down the road from my house here. Right. So I'm like, well, you're going to practice? He goes, nope. He goes, I'm on baby watch because my wife Teal needs a break. And so this is the guy.
That's awesome.
With everything is perfect.
I'm glad you told us that story, because I always think it is hilarious when someone says, oh man, he looked great on the range. He looked great on the range this morning. I'm like, do you know what he was trying to do? Right. If you just watch Russell Henley and he was hitting these little baby cuts and you're like, wow, that looks good, but he's not trying to do that. It's kind of a completely different story. So I'm glad you reminded me of that. That's awesome. A couple of guys that I think have a chance to win this week, Coach, and I think this is probably going to be the last time we see them until the Olympics, are Siwoo Kim and Sung Jae Im. Now they have both said we're not going to play the Open Championship. We're going to use that opportunity to presumably get to Japan early and take their best crack at trying to win a medal, because if they were able to do so, they would not have to do the mandatory military service in South Korea. So, I mean, it is, I'm not even sure it's that arguable. They have one of the biggest events of their lives coming up in Japan in a couple of weeks, and this is probably the last time we'll see them here in the States until then.
You never can say definitively that this is a life-changing event for a player, other than financially, right? But we've seen other players that have had to leave for these 2 years of service, and then when they come back, their games are just not there because they haven't been in the mix, or for whatever reason, haven't been in the competitive mix. So I completely respect, understand, get, and encourage them to go over and get acclimated, because not only is their next 2 years of making millions of dollars on the PGA Tour going to stop if they don't get a medal, but it could cost them down the road millions of dollars, as we've seen. So whatever they feel like they need to do to get ready, I'm all for it. I still don't understand this rule. I've been to so many Asian countries and I love them, but some of their traditions and some of their rules to me are a little bit outdated. And to make somebody do military service in 2021 to me is very antiquated. But I'm not from there, and they can do what they
when
want
you
to
got
do.
When you got North Korea right above you,
I know.
you got to defend those borders a bit. Huh?
Yeah. See, my brother-in-law is a lieutenant colonel, and they lived. My sister and my brother lived in South Korea for 4 years, and my two nieces are 7 and 6, and they speak fluent Korean because they went to an all-Korean preschool that they only spoke Korean, and they had to adjust. It's amazing how kids can do that. So my sister loved that country. She loved living there, but she also said the same thing. Some of their traditions that they still carry over are a little bit antiquated. And I believe that this is one of those. To force somebody to do this, but they know what it is. They accept it. They're from there. And hopefully they can win a silver and a bronze medal and not have to do it.
The cautionary tale, Marcus, is Sang-moon Bae, who, wins twice on the PGA Tour. He goes to do his 2 years of military service, and I don't want to say he was never the same. I think he won a Korn Ferry Tour a couple of years ago, but I try to describe what it would be like to take 2 years from the prime of your golf career. For a lot of these guys is hardly 2 years long anyway. I mean, Coach is right about the financial ramifications, the career stuff. I mean, it's just really difficult to do.
Yeah. You got to bear in mind the level at which they're playing when they leave, and you're playing against the best of the very best, and you don't stumble your way into that. That takes a lot of work. And every day you don't work, you're essentially losing 2 days because you're not moving forward and the competition is. And so there's that to bear in mind. And as a college coach, I've had some Korean young men who've been on my team who've done their utmost to try and graduate and then stay here, or whatever the case might be, and get an exemption from that military service because it's real and it's looming for all of them, like it used to be for us back in South Africa back in the day. And all of them had to go back. And I've seen a few of the boys, they're now men when they come back after their service and they come and visit. And so I'd say, so how was it? And they're like, it was hard. And I'm like, did you play very much golf? And they're like, if they did play, it was toward the end of their 2 year stint. But, the rest of the time they're in army get up and they're doing drills and training and classrooms and classes and stuff. And so it's not like they're going over there and doing the decoration sort of a job and saying they're in the army for 2 years. No, these guys get worked. And Sang-moon Bae, I'm not sure of his thing. I understood that maybe after his basic training, he got an office job somewhere. But no, it's real. They go over there and they lose 2 years. And losing 2 years to your global competition is coming back from that is almost an impossibility.
Well, those two getting their prep in for the Olympics, while a lot of the big names, gentlemen, are getting their prep in for the Open Championship, and they're already across the pond. They're already at the Scottish Open, the Renaissance Club, back in action this year. And the notables are pretty notable, Coach. I mean, let me run you through a couple of these names here.
Talk to me.
John Rahm's teeing it up. Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, Scotty Scheffler. I've heard of these guys.
I saw somebody, I have a love-hate relationship with Twitter, and there's a lot of people that will tweet and not know what they're talking about, like most people. And somebody said,
9 out of 10.
Yeah, they're like, how come the Scottish Open couldn't get a better field with the Open Championship next year? And I think it was Jason Sobel that tweeted all those names that you just said and said, how much better do you want it to be? This is always such a fun event that a lot of the players, I think if you're not going to play the John Deere, you have you have to show yourself how much are you into winning the Open Championship. And if you're truly into winning it, you've got to go and play the Scottish Open if you're eligible to play it, like a lot of these guys are. Scottish Open is not going to say no to any of these big-time American stars if they want to come and play. But to me, to do what Jordan Spieth has done and not play at all since the U.S. Open, or any player that doesn't play at all and also may skip the Scottish Open, to me, that's a big-time mistake. I think you get acclimated to the time change, which is real, and then you also get acclimated to the weather and how that is when it's a little bit cooler in the summer than it is here in the States. I'm excited about it. And then when NBC started putting it on the network on the weekend, that's when it really got elevated to a really a big-time event every single year, the week always right before the Open Championship.
Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, Terrell Hatton, Matt Fitzpatrick, Tommy Fleetwood. I mean, I could go on. And Mark, that's the big thing, right? Go get your body on the right time, get an opportunity to potentially play in conditions that are at least closer to what they're going to see for the Open Championship. Is this, I don't want to say it's necessary for these guys to do, but it seems like a really good idea to me.
It isn't necessary, but it's helpful for all the reasons you guys list. I mean, Coach talks about the time change. That's a big one for the folks who play over here, and getting your body on the correct time. I like the way you say it's a little bit cooler than the summer. It's a whole hell of a lot cooler than the summer over here. And there's that moist, damp sort of sea air over there too, and the ball just travels differently. And links golf, it's a mindset. I'm excited that the Scottish Open, which is one of, the preeminent opens around the world, been around forever, is being played on a links golf course, because they'd bounced around the place and played it at inland parkland courses a little bit. But now it's the perfect setup for the Open Championship the following week, because you get into the playing the ball on the ground, the different club selection, the hitting a 3-iron from 130 under the wind kind of thing, because you go there and you get into that style of play. And coming here from the John Deere Classic, for argument's sakes, where you're playing humid, warm conditions where the ball flies forever, you get to Royal St. George's next week, it's a different animal. And you've got to be a pretty quick study to get yourself ready for that, not just physically, but mentally also. So, can you play well not playing the Scottish Open? Sure. But, winning that Scottish Open, that looks pretty peachy on the resume as well. And it'll get you ready for what the test is going to be down there just off the White Cliffs of Dover.
It certainly will. And I want to go back to something that I think, Mark, you maybe had mentioned this early in the show. How long, Coach, did we say, oh my gosh, it's the super season, it's 6 major championships, this is going to be amazing? Well, there's one left. This is it. One left. And we have been spoiled with victors. Bryson at Winged Foot, DJ gets it done at Augusta National, Hideki wins one for Japan, Phil at the PGA Championship, and John Rahm gets his first at Torrey Pines. I'm not sure what could top all of that or what we're in store for, but this is it. This is the 6th one.
Yeah, but to your point about the majors is valid. But I was thinking, as I was preparing for the show today and thinking about the Open Championship next week, I went back and I made a list of all the non-big-time names that have won just in 2021. So I would argue that because of the super season and because a lot of these guys didn't have to worry about going to the Corn Ferry, didn't have to worry about their PGA Tour cards, which now they will, I think they're more comfortable And that's why we've seen so many different winners on the PGA Tour. Garrick Higo, Kokrak, Lee, Burns, Damon, Horsell, Jones, Grace, Berger, Homa, Kim, Na. I mean, that's just in 2021. So I think we could see a big game hunter type of event next week, and also this week at the Scottish Open. But I also think because of this super season that a lot of these players, and Kramer Hickok's another great name, that they're comfortable out there because they've had 2 years not to have to worry about that red or green number next to their name on the broadcast. Now you got to think about it, and now you got to play good. And I'm going to be interested to see which players excel, which ones don't, or if a superstar is going to win yet another major.
Yeah, I'm just quickly counting these. I'm counting, Mark, 6 first-time winners. We've got young guys, we've got old guys, we've got everything in between. This super season, obviously some events still to go, has certainly lived up to the name.
Well, it's funny you bring the subject up, because Sunday afternoon before the show, I was sitting in my producer's office. Sailor Shy, he took over from legendary Lance Barrow at the beginning of this season. And Lance, I mean, he'd worked under Frank Chikinian, and these are 2 of the preeminent sports producers ever. And Sellers took over, and I said, we were sort of looking back, and he goes, I've been so happy with the way the season's panned out from a broadcast for CBS sort of a mindset. And I'm like, interesting. And he goes, think of the stories we got to tell. He goes, you start, well, this is not even in the fall, but you start with Hideki at the Masters. Generational win for everyone in Japan. He goes, then we turn around, we go to Hilton Head, and a 47-year-old in Stuart Sink wins. He goes, then you fast forward a little bit, you got some good winners, and he goes, then we get to call Rory's comeback win at Quail Hollow, which people sort of forget a little bit. And then you go down the track, and then he goes, then you got cool stories like Higo and company like that. And then he goes, and then Phil at Kiowa, which you guys talked about. And then, because now we're on the heels of 13 holes worth of extra time over the last 2 weeks.
Yes,
and he goes, and he said to me, isn't it crazy how these stories that we've had, there's been something different to each and every one. And I guarantee you we're going to see more of the same probably next week, because everyone's playing pretty well going in there. And then winding down the season, I mean, we personally, us CBS folks, we've got CBS, we've got Greensboro, and then we've got Liberty National right outside of New York City. And I feel like you're going to have the snowball sort of continue, and you're going to have a mix of old and young and new and, you know, veteran and that sort of thing, because that's what's making the game fun and fun to call right now.
Yeah.
Golf is special. Golf is very, very special right now. Okay, gentlemen, here's what we're going to do. We have our betting cards for this week's John Deere Classic. That includes our best bets and our one and done selections. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back. Okay, this is our betting card segment. This is where we take $100. We go over to our friends at William Hill and we light it on fire and see if we can return. See if we can return anything. So let's, Coach. I'm looking at your card right now. So let's pull up your card. Producer Jacob is going to do that for me. And okay, so you've got a couple of Scottish Open ones here. I'll keep those for last. Let's talk about your matchups here. Brian Harman over Daniel Berger and Maverick McNeely over Aaron Wise. Let's start there.
Okay, so I'm channeling my inner Rick G, and I said I'm going back to my bread and butter is the head-to-head matchups. I've kind of gotten away from that recently. But I thought about you this week. I said, I got to go back to what he does. So for me, Brian Harman is the unsung hero this year of the PGA Tour. Now, he's outside of the top 30 only because all of his finishes have been top 5, between top 10. But he is cashing every single week. He's a top 10 every single week. So to me, Daniel Berger's got to play better than that. So I love that matchup at plus 100. And then McNeely has been a very quiet contributor to my baseline, and he played well last week. I think he's going to play well again this week.
I thought you were going to say he's been a quiet contributor to my bankroll or bank account. Is what I thought you were going to say.
Well, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. It was my bankroll. Aaron Wise has played good at times. I called the Honda Classic for PGA Tour Live when he played well through three rounds and then blew up on Sunday. But I love McNeely. I love what he's doing. And so I like those two head-to-head matchups.
The other two head-to-head matchups that you have are Alex Noren -125 over last week's champion Cam Davis, and your best bet, you're going back to maybe the hottest hand out there, Hank Lebioda over Doc Redman.
Couldn't believe this is only -110. I couldn't believe this number. Doc Redman is, I think because of his name, a lot of people like playing him. And there's just a lot of weeks he's just not very good. He loves to finish T50, T60. Lebioda right now is on fire. He had a great finish at the Travelers, excuse me. And then, of course, last week he finished one shot out of the playoff. So I'll take him -110. And then Alex Noren, same thing. Last week, one shot out of the playoffs. And this is the type of week that Alex Noren revels, which is why he's always a guy that you see, he's 70th in the FedEx Cup, because of weeks like this that he takes advantage of when the big boys aren't there. So I think he plays well again. And the hardest thing to do on the PGA Tour, we all know this, is to go back-to-back and play well in back-to-back weeks after you've won. That's why I'm fading Davis.
Brian Harman gets back on your card to finish inside the top 10 at +163. And then your final PGA wager is, I love this, Seamus Power. It's a power week to win Group B on William Hill. That is +350.
Yeah, Seamus Power is a guy that is really starting to come on lately. Played really well last week. He won 2 head-to-heads for me in Detroit. And Brian Harman, when you look at I just wrote down 7 of his finishes: T3, T5, T12, T13, T18, T19, T8. That's just like in the last 8 weeks. So to give me a top 10 with this field, and I'm getting +163, that was a no-brainer for me for both.
And then the 2 Scottish Open wagers that you made, John Rahm -150 over Xander Schauffele, and then Martin Keimer on the plus side of it, +120 over Robbie McIntyre.
The Rahm bet was easy because Xander got married last week. We know nobody focuses right after they get married. And by the way, he overachieved just like you did, Rick G, in marriage. And then Martin Keimer, he's been very sneaky good lately. He shot a 64 in the final round of the BMW to lose by, I believe, 1 or 2 to Victor Hovland. And Robert McIntyre is a good player, but I think Martin Keimer is really playing good. And I like to find different plays for people at home that there's plus value that maybe they didn't see on the board. So that's why I picked this one for all the good folks at home that may not know how good Martin Keimer is playing right now.
There you go. That's Coach's betting card. And we're going to stick with the Scottish Open theme. We're going to pull up Mark's betting card here in just 1 second because Mark's got 3 wagers of his own on the event across the pond. I believe, yes, 3 matchups. Thank you, producer Jacob. So let's go with these here, Mark. Christian Bezuidenhout, top 20, +175. Then you went with Justin Harding over Shrivner, +110. And then Terrell Hatton over Colin Morikawa at even money.
Yeah, well, look, Christian Bezuidenhout, the way he putts, I'm always going to gamble on him. And he played nicely last week, didn't finish it off. So that's sort of a no-brainer. He's coming in here playing well, and he's got a bit of a goal in mind right now because he's now made the Olympic team. But it's time for him. I know this event doesn't count, but he's got one more start to earn his PGA Tour card out of the starts allotted, the invitation. So it's kind of go time for Bez. So I get the sense that he's going to continue the good form. Hack Harding over Scriv, Justin Harding is just like Christian Bezuidenhout, probably one of the best scramblers in the game. He's also been playing pretty well, and I'm unsure about Morikawa playing links golf just yet. And I know if you hit the ball well and you do the right things, doesn't matter where you play. But Tyrrell Hatton's got the advantage. He's won on the ultimate links course at St Andrews, the old course, so he knows how to do this sort of stuff. And like I said, links golf is a mindset. And Morikawa is the kind of guy that hits the ball through the air to a distance. And that's not what you do at this sort of place. And the one thing he does pretty well is he's not afraid to move trajectory right to left, left to right. Now, I'm not discounting, I'm not fading Morikawa. I just give Hatton the edge. And like you see there, unlike Coach, who plays a bunch of minuses, I don't get that. I don't know why you don't find the positive money and go and put some stuff on that sort of deal. So that's why I picked that.
The PGA Tour wagers on Mark's card. And before I jump into those, Mark, are you working this weekend? Are you on site this weekend?
Yes, I leave for the Quad Cities tomorrow morning.
So is this a reverse jinx that you're trying to put on there by saying this event ends in a playoff, 3-1, and you're thinking if it goes to a playoff, like at least I can make a little bit of money. If it doesn't, I can get out of town. What are you trying to do here?
We have gone 13 freaking holes the last 2 weeks. But at least last week I had an 8:50 p.m. flight out of Detroit. And there was a group of us on this flight, and we were counting down, going, we're never making it. And somehow all of us broke land speed records. Nobilo, Dottie, me, a couple of our spotters, we all took different routes to the airport and got on the same shuttle bus to the place. Got on there really smelly, me and cold nose, but we made the flight and we were good. The playoff there.
We went like 15 weeks without a playoff, and now we got two long ones back to back. We were playing with fire there.
And then speaking of the playoff, Rick, I heard Coach talking about fading one Cam Davis. Now,
Yes.
A little story for you here, Coach, because I nearly hopped on that and won another bottle of wine off you, but I'm going to go easy because you were ignorant last week. This guy, right? I've watched him play. I've watched him hit balls on the range. So now I got him front and center in the playoff, and I knew he was good. But he hit a 3-iron in that playoff on the par 5, slightly uphill lie, slightly into the breeze. It was the sexiest golf shot I've ever seen in all of my existence. This thing came off like a rocket. It was like raw spaghetti. The thing was so straight. It climbed like a bat out of hell. I mean, it was like a homesick angel. And this thing just dropped over the top of the flag. And I looked at this going, there are few guys, and I'm saying probably about that many, that can hit that shot under pressure on the tour. Now, did he putt very well to close the thing out? No. But I'm saying I think he's now figured it out. And
okay, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. When was the last time a player won back-to-back weeks on the PGA Tour?
It's been a while, Coach, but I'm saying Noren over Cam, you're a nutcase. And if you're giving me the bonus there, if you're giving me the bonus, I'm going to put $10
I thought you were talking about the fact that you picked Cam to win this week. That's literally like throwing $10 to the wind.
It was the bonus. They gave you the 3,000 plus 3,000.
William Hill has boosted that number. Is what we're it's 30-1 is what we're referring.
Well, it's kind of like the mindset of playing all plus monies. If they don't hit, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I'm not that dumb.
So
you do agree on one thing, and it is the hot hand Hank Leviota top 20 for you, Mark, plus 225. The guy's been a staple inside the top 20.
He has, and I tell you what, I'm just so impressed at his story that I wasn't aware of until my colleagues last week did such a great job of telling this. I mean, this is a guy that's battling Crohn's disease in the biggest way. He can't eat fried food. He doesn't drink alcohol. There's all these things that he has to do week in and week out to be healthy enough to play. And I was listening to this going, Coach, the hardest thing when you're on the road is eating right. And here's a guy who's playing at the highest level, battling Crohn's disease and digestive system issues. So I'm instantly a fan. And when I saw him there and he's playing well, top 20, I was like, yeah, sign me up for that too. I'll put $20 on that, certainly.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, that is Mark's betting card. We'll run through mine real quick, please, producer Jacob. I've got two matchups. One is my best bet. It's Alex Norton over Cam Davis. So I'm with Coach on this one, Mark. We've teamed up against you.
Yeah, you guys. We're talking Sunday night.
You might not like this one either. Sung J M over Russell Henley is my other matchup.
Why are you guys betting negative odds? Help me understand why you do that.
They're the favorites, Mark.
They're favorites,
supposed
Mark.
to win.
Yes.
So you bet $30 and you can win 27.
But if your guys don't win, you win 0. Do you understand that?
So the thing with the Sung J bet is they're both minus 110 because that's the sports books taking their cut. But Alex Noren is the favorite minus 125. So yeah, you're essentially saying, Alex Noren's going to win this 55% of the time, 58, 60% of the time, something like that, and you take that little juice.
I love Alex Noren. He's a cool guy. If you guys saw his interview last week, Amanda wanted to show him the highlights.
She had to
I don't like
beg
to
it
watch
out of
my
him.
golf swing. She starts turning away from it, and I was like, he's cool. But, and I've chatted with him, and he does things his own way. I've got and I have high respect for an individual that doesn't fall for the stuff that goes on the PGA Tour. But sorry, man, he's not beating Cam Davis this week. It's just not happening.
We shall see. I'm back on the Satoshi Kodaira train, this time top 20 at 5-1. And then I've got a couple of sprinkles on Brian Harman at 14-1 and Kramer Hickok 66-1 to win. And then I went, Coach, with Sam Burns across the pond because I'm addicted to Sam Burns and I just can't quit him at 40-1. I think it's going to be, I know it's wet and I think he can make enough birdies, but I can't quit this guy.
It's a sweet spot. That plus 4,000 is a sweet spot that if you sprinkle a little bit, you still get a good payback. I think the best bet you had on here that I'm shocked at is Kramer Hickok at 66-1. I mean, The dude nearly won 2 weeks ago, played halfway decent last week, but you assumed when he went 8 holes that the next week would be a regression, and that's exactly what happened. But that's a number that if he gets hot again, people are going to be very, very happy with.
Yeah, the fact that he even made the cut, I was impressed because he could have just rolled over the following week. Okay, let me recap our best bets here. I'm going with Noren over Davis. That's highly contested. Coach is going with Hank Lebiota over Doc Redman. Mark is going with Harding over Scriv. Greg has called in. He has let us know. Brian Harman, top 10, plus 163. And then Sia Sia went with a 3-ball. Lebiota plus 175 over Kevin Knott and Troy Merritt. So that's our best bets. Which leaves us with one final thing to do. Prepare yourselves.
One and done.
It's the one and done. It is the one and done. So I'm pulling up the master sheet right now. And I am not starting with you, Coach, because you are no longer in the basement. I am starting with Jacob, who is now in the basement. So Jacob, come on here. You have now whiffed 2 weeks in a row, Keegan Bradley and Steph Straka. You've whiffed. Don't laugh too hard. We've got some other whiffs coming up. You've whiffed three out of 4 weeks, but you got 550,000 for Brooks Koepka somewhere in the middle. So we need some cash for Team Jacob here.
We're gonna go with straight vibing for this. I mean,
DB.
I'm just gonna look at the top.
2 weeks early. A few weeks early, bro.
I know. There's the whole Memphis thing that's looming, but I think I'm going to take him in the weaker field here. I mean, all PGA Tour fields are equal, but I'll take Berger here.
I was trying to pull up his odds real quick. He's 11-1. Daniel Berger, straight vibing, is the favorite to win this event, and that is who producer Jacob is taking. He's going to try to add to his 4.3 million, which is about 220,000 behind the coach. And the coach has been on, I'll tell you what, Coach, it's a pretty good run here. You got 1.3 million from Louis at the US Open. You got 510,000 from Mark Leishman the week after. And then this is kind of a disappointing 166,000 from Kokrak, because when he got to 17 on Sunday, he goes birdie. I think he would have missed the playoffs still, but he was in it. He bogeys the par 5, drops out of like an 8-way tie, which is expensive. It's 166,000, but it feels like it should have been more.
Well, he played so great on Sunday too. I mean, I was like, at least going to be a top 5. And then bogeying 17, it's like a double bogey. It really is. That's just such an easy hole. But I'll take the 6 figures every week. I'll take the 6 figures.
All right, Coach. So you are on the midst of a pretty good stretch of golf. Who are you going for this week?
And I say this name, I forgot my trusty master book, so I think I can use this guy. If I can't, please tell me. And I'm going to go with Brian Harman this week as my one and done. Lock it in, cash that one. Well, this is a little bit less. The first price here is always a little bit less. I think it's like right around, what is it, 980 or 990, something like that.
No, they all crack a million.
Are they all over 100 million now?
This is the PGA Tour now, bro. Come on.
No, this is the one event. I'm telling you guys.
1.1.
Okay, it's called just right over. I knew it was right around $1 million though.
1.1. Yeah, the only events I think that don't crack it are
Puerto
like
Rico.
Barracuda. Barracuda,
Puerto
Rico.
The opposite field.
The opposite field events.
300 FedEx Cup points too, usually on the opposite field.
Yes. Yeah. Even the Zurich does a 1.06 each. That's nice for the team event.
Wow. That's very nice. Yeah.
Very generous. Okay. Coach is at 4.5 million. Next up is KP, 7.7 million. And Mark, I know who he's going with, and I'm just making sure he can use him. He can. He's going with Alex Noren to try to back it up a good week with another good week.
Yeah, Kyle just tends to want to throw stuff at the wall and hope it sticks once in a while. And no, I can say that because he's not around. Love you, Kyle. It's
Oh my God.
I think Noren will play well. I really do. I just don't think he's going to beat Cam Davis.
I can tell you how Kyle landed at Alex Noren. He called me, and we just went through the top of the odds, the favorites, until he got to someone he didn't already have.
Not a
So
bad
what Mark
strategy.
said is true. What Mark said is true.
Confirmation.
Oh my God!
So
you can't
this
get
is
mad
how-
at that.
This
Can't
is
get
how
mad
that
at
conversation. This conversation went like this. Have I used Daniel Berger? Yeah. Have you used Brian Harmon? Yeah. Have I used Sung J M? Yeah. And he kept going until he got down to Alex Noren at 30-1 and took him.
That was like a 20-minute conversation just to get to Alex Noren.
And then there was one. Have I used Pro X? Yeah, you used him twice, incidentally. Next one.
Yeah, he used him twice. Yeah. Actually, twice. Yeah. Kyle's at 7.7 million. He is nipping at your heels, Mark. And I hate to say this. Yeah, 4 weeks in a row.
Missed freaking cuts. I am mad as a snake. In fact, Coach ripped me on the Twitter, the text chain. He goes, "I'll happily pay your wine, boss, because I know the one and done means more to you. And I know you aggravated right now." Because, man, I thought I made every appropriate pick, and every single one of them tanked in the biggest way. And I should have changed. I should have made the late change last week, Wednesday. I was out there doing my reconnaissance work. I'm cruising around the course, and lo and behold, there's Bryson on the 15th and 16th holes. So I hang out. I'm like, "Hey, Bryson, how are you?" And I get the chin, Then he hits a tee shot. And so I walk over to him. I'm like, "You're doing well." And he goes, and sort of chippy. And then I'm like, "You must be happy to come back." And he's all chippy with me. And I'm like, "This is not Bryson. This is not right." Well, fast forward the following morning, I wake up. Hey, Bryson and Tim Tucker have split. And I was like, sweet Jesus, what are we going to do now? And then we had him in the show that afternoon. And here's Bryson walking around the fairways trying to find yardage markers.
Yeah.
And I was like, I tried to convince myself it was going to be okay. I tweeted out going, Bryson's going to bounce back. We'll be fine. That was more for me trying to make me feel good. And it was, last week was so forgettable. Detroit was cool, but otherwise it was so, I'm still miff.
Well, here you get an opportunity again this week. You can bounce right back. Who are you going with to break this streak of zeros for you?
Okay, but this is like the PGA Tour guy, okay? Now, if I was a PGA Tour player and I missed 4 cuts, now you're questioning the coach, you're questioning the caddy, you're questioning yourself. You're sort of driving with a handbrake lifted a little bit because you're completely unsure and you don't know where to turn. So right now I've got 2 options because I'm just doubting myself in the biggest way. So I've got 2 dogs in the pound, and I'm gonna look for some inspiration in a glass of wine later. I'm trying to pick between Henley and Harmon.
That's Georgia Bulldogs. If you did not get that reference, 2 dogs in the pound, Henley or Harmon. A little non-committal from Mark, but that's okay. It's been a rough month for him. We'll let him go this time.
Shut up, Rick.
I have about $1 million of breathing room from Mark, but I'm trailing Greg by about let's call it $200,000. I dodged the Kevin Streelman bullet a couple of weeks ago. I'm going for it this time. This is it for me. I'm hoping that he can find a way to get it done. He's got the 5th shortest odds on the board. I'm going with Streels.
I like that play. I really is.
Yeah, I picked him with Travelers and it didn't work so well.
You were not alone.
In fact, at the Travelers, I'm watching PGA Tour Live Thursday morning, and Streelman 3 under through 6, top of the leaderboard. Now you know me. I'm like, it's only 6 holes. There's another 66 left. But I wanted to text you guys, going, "Yo, I'm gonna break this. I'm gonna break this night." Next thing, he finishes like double bogey par to miss the cut on Friday. I was like,
Mark texted me Thursday morning as he's 3 under and said, "Just curious, why didn't you pick Kevin Streelman this week?"
You're right. I said that.
I wish people could just see our text threads, and I think they'd be as entertained with our text threads as they would be with the show. Our text threads are great. They're
hilarious.
great.
Hilarious.
Yeah, but you disappeared from you disappeared from said thread when it was wine time pay up last week.
No. Here's the thing. Let me just point this out. out that I responded 2 or 3 times, but you got to remember, I was one of the cool kids in high school. And the one thing you don't do is answer your own joke. And the one thing you don't do is make a joke 4 or 5 times. So after the 4th time, there's no reason for me to answer. So that's what I did. Yeah.
We're gonna start charging $10 a month to view the text thread. We'll make a killing. We're all retired. Which leaves us with Greg, who is currently atop the leaderboard. He got 121,000 from Cameron Tringale last week. And Mark, this might help you make your decision here. He's going with Brian Harmon. Yeah, he's going with Harmon.
You know what? There's still you listen to me. There's still a lot of time. I'd love to see what you guys have picked, but we've got the Open next week where I'm pretty confident with my pick. 3M, I'm unsure. Memphis, I'm very sure. Wyndham, I'm very sure. And so I might just push with Greg this week. I'll be happy with a push, and then hopefully we because the playoffs are extra money, remember, and so I'm saving some bullets for that stuff.
Who are you taking next week, Mark? Who are you taking at the Open?
Probably Louis. Westhuizen.
So Louis, Berger, Webb, Rory at Eastlake. That only leaves us with two events or 3.
No, I've got JT at Eastlake. I'll probably have Rory one of those before then, and then we'll see who the other one shakes out.
I'm telling you right now, when I become the commissioner of this thing at the start of next season, there's gonna be some very, very strict rules.
Yeah, I'm gonna say we gotta lock down a pick here, Mark.
Oh, yeah, we gotta lock down a pick right here, right now.
Graphic,
now.
Jacob, you got to lock down the scoring system for the Tour Championship then first.
WGC Memphis.
Put yourself on so I can see you, please.
Yeah. He's got to look you in the eyes.
This is so much fun. This is so much fun.
WGC Memphis, whatever the payout is. Non-shadow leaderboard.
For the first 30?
For the first 30.
And then it is going to include the staggered start?
It will include the staggered start.
I'm going to write this down so I don't forget.
Okay.
So say that all again for me.
So he's going to mimic the payouts from the WGC FedEx St. Jude. So probably 1.6 million to first, whatever it is for second, for the first 30 spots. That's going to be the payouts for the Tour Championship. Yes. And he's going to count the regular PGA Tour leaderboard. So if you have a guy who starts at -10, he starts at -10. It's that leaderboard.
But if I had my way, I'm going to propose this, given the size of the purse there in Eastlake, which is why I always save one of the blue chips for this thing, that you at least make it the value of the Masters or the US Open 2.8 mil.
We could double it.
I'll take double.
That's agreed.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I'm the only one who doesn't want to double because I'm going to be playing Ben on or somebody.
Okay, lock me up for JT at the Tour Championship then.
Well, who do you want this weekend? So you put Jacob's feet to the fire and you got an answer. So now you got to give us an answer.
That's right.
I love Russell Henley, but I'm going to go with Harmon. This golf course, just incidentally, some insider for the gambling folks listening. It's got like 7 holes that move from left to right. So for the right hand, if you peel the ball, fade. For Harmon, hits a little tight baby draw for a lefty. That's why he's 1 year before. He's a great putter, Harmon, for me.
Great. And I already wrote you down for JT Poston in the Tour Championship.
It's locked in.
It's a great way into the show. There you go.
What I also think we should do next year, what I think is fun, is we should have 2 one and dones. We should set one before the season. Just set it and forget it. And if your guy doesn't play, sorry. But like you set it for the whole year, and then we do the regular one week to week. I think it's
done.
Fun.
I second that emotion.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. We're making a lot of decisions here. That'll do it for the mega preview pod for this week's John Deere Classic, the DFS preview already in your feeds. Also round by round recaps after each and every round. But for now, let me thank producer Jacob doing all the hard works behind and in front of the scenes today. Thank you, producer Jacob. That right there is Mark Immelman, who you can find on Twitter at Mark_Immelman, the coach, who you can find at the Coach Rules and on PGA Tour Live this week. And you can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut, and we'll catch you next time.